Hello and welcome to the New African Channel. In the age of European imperialism, the race for territorial expansion and resource control was often justified under the guise of civilization, education, and scientific progress. Yet, beneath this veneer of enlightenment, imperial powers committed some of the most egregious atrocities, dehumanizing those they subjugated to maintain control and reinforce racial hierarchies. Among these dark episodes, the practice of human zoos stands out as one of the most shameful and grotesque manifestations of colonial arrogance. Before we continue our video today, if you are new on our channel, make sure to give our video a like and subscribe to our channel for more exciting future videos. At the heart of this practice was King Leopold II of Belgium, a monarch whose insatiable greed and brutal exploitation of the Congo Free State earned him a dark place in history. Beyond the notorious economic exploitation and violence committed in the Congo, where forced labor, mass killings, and mutilations decimated the local populations. Leopold's regime went a step further by reducing the indigenous people of Congo to objects of spectacle. The human zoo exhibitions were not simply about displaying culture. They were designed to affirm European superiority and justify colonial domination by dehumanizing African people in the most literal and public way possible. One of the most infamous instances of these human zoos occurred during the Brussels International Exposition in 1897, an event designed to showcase Belgium's achievements on the global stage. In a sprawling park in Tervuren, near Brussels, King Leopold II ordered the construction of a Fox Congolese village. This village housed 267 Congolese people who were transported to Belgium and exhibited in a setting meant to replicate their native conditions. These men, women, and children were forced to live in mud huts, wear their traditional clothing, and perform daily tasks such as cooking and weaving for the amusement of European visitors. However, the truth behind the exhibition was far from what the Belgian public perceived. For the Congolese participants, the experience was humiliating, alienating, and in some cases deadly. The climate and living conditions were harsh and unsanitary, leading to the death of several participants due to disease. The Belgian public, however, was either indifferent or unaware of the suffering behind the spectacle. An estimated 1.2 million people visited the exhibition, gawking at the Congolese as if they were animals in a zoo. The organizers described these human displays as a way of Europeans to study and learn about their colonial subjects. Yet, these exhibitions did nothing but perpetuate the myth of racial superiority, where Africans were portrayed as exotic and primitive, incapable of managing their own affairs. While King Leopold's Brussels exhibition is perhaps the most infamous example, the practice of human zoos was not unique to Belgium. Throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, such exhibitions were common across Europe, the United States, Paris, Berlin, London, and even New York played host to similar displays, where people from colonized regions, including Africa, Asia, and the Americas, were showcased in the constructed environments meant to replicate their supposed natural inhabitants. In Paris, for example, the 1889 World's Fair featured an entire section of the city's Jardin d'Acclimatation dedicated to displaying indigenous peoples from the French colonies. As with the Brussels exhibition, these individuals were displayed in fabricated villages, and their every movement was scrutinized by a curious public. The Berlin Zoological Garden similarly featured an African village exhibition in the 1896, while in London, the Empire exhibition of the 1924 displayed people from the British colonies. In the United States, New York's Bronx Zoo went as far as placing a Congolese man, Ota Benga, in a cage with an orangutan in the 1906, further eroding the line between human and animal in the eyes of the audience. The widespread popularity of these human zoos was underpinned by the pseudo-scientific theories of race that were prevalent at the time. The burgeoning field of anthropology, still in its infancy, was heavily influenced by racial hierarchies and social Darwinism. These theories posited that human races could be categorized in a hierarchy of civilization, with Europeans, particularly Western Europeans, at the top and the African and indigenous people at the bottom. Scientists of this era, seeking to justify colonialism, argue that these exhibitions offered an opportunity for Europeans to study other races in their natural state. But this scientific justification was nothing more than a pretext to reinforce colonial ideologies of racial superiority. The anthropologists and scientists who supported these exhibitions treated the individuals on display as mere specimens rather than as human beings with their own cultures, histories, and identities. The objectification of the human body, its skin color, facial features, and physical form became the focal point of these exhibitions, reducing individuals to mere objects for their imperial gaze. The impact on those exhibited in these human zoos was profound. Many suffered from emotional and psychological trauma due to the humiliation and dehumanization they endured. Others died from diseases or maltreatment while on display. For the descendants of those who were exhibited, these exhibitions remain a painful reminder of the racism and exploitation their ancestors faced. Today, Belgium, like many former colonial powers, is grappling with how to confront its colonial legacy. For much of the 20th century, Belgium remained reluctant to acknowledge the atrocities committed under King Leopold II's rule, including the human zoos. Only in recent decades has the country begun to come to terms with its dark past. Museums such as the Royal Museum for Central African Intervening, once built to glorify Belgium's colonial conquests, have been reconfigured to represent a more accurate and critical narrative of colonial exploitation. In 2020, following the global protest against racism spurred by the Black Lives Matter movement, statues of King Leopold II were defaced or removed in several Belgian cities. However, reconciliation is far from complete. Calls for official apologies and reparations continue to be made by African communities and activists. The legacy of the human zoos, like the broader legacy of colonialism, remains a deeply painful issue for the descendants of those who were exploited. While public awareness of these atrocities is growing, there is still much work to be done to fully acknowledge the extent of the harm caused. The story of the human zoo is not merely a historical footnote. It is a stark reminder of the dehumanization and exploitation that characterized the colonial era. It serves as a painful reflection on how easily societies can normalize the suffering of others when power and racism go unchecked. As we dig deeper into this history, it becomes clear that the legacy of King Leopold II's reign and the exhibition of human beings in zoos was not just about physical exploitation, but a profound moral failure, a failure to recognize the humanity of others. The victims of the human zoos were not nameless figures in a history book. They were individuals who were stripped of their dignity, whose lives were reduced to spectacles. Their stories remind us of the importance of remembering and acknowledging the atrocities of the past, not just as a way to seek justice, but as a lesson for future generations. This shameful chapter in human history must be a rallying call for empathy, understanding, and the continual fight against the ideologies that allowed such cruelty to exist. The legacy of the human zoos is a powerful reminder of how far we have come and how far we still have to go in our collective journey towards equality, justice, and the recognition of our shared humanity. Thank you for joining us here on the New Africa channel. My name is Duncan Kofi-Nyakubuye, and we'll see you next time with more truths, facts, and a bit of controversy. Until then, stay tuned and stay curious.